warrant or that order, and you're going to look for the name. If it doesn't have your name, you can say that person does not live here. And well, we want to come in. Sorry, get a warrant, and then I'll let you in. So number one, that's at home. At work, it's a little bit different. Now, if they come in, now your employer has a right to say you can't come in either and you need a warrant, but if for some reason the employer cooperates and allows them in because he thinks he's going to get better treatment or less fines, then if you run, one, it's almost an admission that you're out of status. So the first recommendation from the American Immigration Lawyers Association is that you walk to the nearest exit. If you're stopped and they say, hey, you that's walking out there in the red shirt or whatever, you turn around and you say, am I free to go? Am I under arrest? No. Am I free to go? If they say yes, leave. And leave walking, not running. If they say no, then you must stop. Now, once you're stopped, you can remain silent as well at work. So you have the right to remain silent whether you're stopped in the street, whether you're stopped at home, or whether you're stopped at work, at your place of work. So very important. Also, you may refuse to show identity documents. You have a right to speak to a lawyer. You have a right to say you want to see an immigration judge. You have a right to call the consulate from your home country. So if you're from Mexico, you call the Mexican consulate, Central America, one of the Central American consulates, South America, Spain, or anywhere in the world, you have a right to call your consulate and they will advise you what to do, or they'll give you a list of free lawyers, or they'll help you secure a lawyer, or you can call your family, of course. Last, you should refuse to sign anything. Many people think I must cooperate with them. If I cooperate with them, I'll get better treatment, I'll be released. Unfortunately, cooperating with ICE is a death sentence. If you tell them what country you're from, you're making it easier for them to contact your embassy to get a passport and send you out of the United States. So make it hard on them so that you can exercise, and I'm not saying this to violate the law in any way, so that you have an opportunity to seek counsel, see a lawyer, or go see a judge and exercise your rights. And many people have rights that they're not even aware of. And once they seek counsel and talk to an immigration attorney, they find out that they have a right to pursue some kind of defense and maybe even get a green card. You don't want to throw this down the drain because you're frightened and you sign, yes, I'll sign here, and then you speak, I'm from such a country, I came in such a year. Best not to say anything, and of course, please do not carry any documents that are not validly issued in your name, because then they'll use this against you, even in a criminal court, and use it. Not only are you in deportation proceedings because ICE detained you, also the state or the federal government may institute criminal proceedings against you because you're carrying a fake driver's license, a fake green card, a fake social security. So please do not show these documents, do not carry them. And I'm saying this again, perhaps I've done this in the Spanish version on Thursdays, but there's just so much collective fear in the community with so many changes that it's important that I reiterate. These Know Your Rights, by the way, come from the American Immigration Lawyers Association. You're welcome to go online yourself. It's AILA, AILA.org, nonprofit organization, and they issue so many advisements to help the immigrant community. So what I've read here, you can find it. There's in English, there's in Spanish, there's in multiple languages, and there's one for workplace, home, as well as public. So basically, that's my little brief mini vignette on how to protect yourself if you are interviewed or questioned by ICE in any of these three situations. The first one is remain silent. Don't say a word and tell them, I wish to remain silent, and then exercise your rights for your family to seek counsel. You can even ask immigration for a list of pro bono attorneys. That means free attorneys. And usually they're organizations or they're attorneys that are on a certain list, and call them for preliminary advice before saying, signing, or speaking anything. Very well, I'm ready for questions and answers, and we have another topic, and I have a few announcements, and I want to talk about Dreamers in a minute because there's some leaks from the White House, so please stay tuned for those that have DACA or your parents of children with DACA. There's some news that is filtered down, and I want to share that with you in a few moments.
Thank you so much, and the first question is from Lorena. She mentioned that you are her favorite lawyer, Alma Rosa, so I wanted to let you know that's the first thing she said. And her question is the following. The man who filed my form, which was an I-130, lied. The request was for my husband, who was admitted, but that man admitted that he's only a paralegal and he wasn't going to vouch for me during my appointment in Ciudad Juarez. I live in Rosarito, Mexico. How can I get my FOIA to vouch for myself alone for this interview in Ciudad Juarez?
Okay. First thing you need to know, Lorena, and thank you so much for being a loyal follower. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Second, you have a right to request copies of your whole file. I would get them from the paralegal, and any other prior applications, you have a right to request them through a Freedom of Information Act. It's an application called FOIA. It takes a long time, though, so you're going to have to postpone your interview in Ciudad Juarez. If you've waited this long, it's best to wait. I would have everything that's done and that you do have access to now reviewed by an attorney first, because the FOIA can take anywhere from 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, sometimes up to a year. So I don't want you waiting all that time when somebody can review the documentation you now have to maybe even see if it's in the right course, or you should even cancel the whole case. I know you're in Mexico, in Rosarito, but I don't want you spending so much money and traveling to Ciudad Juarez. And not only the money, but if you get denied in Juarez because of some fraud that this paralegal committed, or errors or lies or mistakes, that could hurt you later. So later you hire a good lawyer, a competent lawyer, and in Ciudad Juarez they already have a record. Oh, that's Lorena, who lied the last time she came a year or two ago, and it's going to affect you in a new interview. So my recommendation is postpone the interview, seek counsel, get copies of everything, and then request a FOIA. Excellent question.
Fantastic. The next question is from Karina. My wife was granted her military parole in place for 1 year that will expire in 3 months. The adjustment of status was submitted and approved, and we're waiting for the interview. She already has her employment authorization, but the Form I-130 is still pending due to uses because they're experiencing delays. Do I need to renew her military parole in place for her interview for next year?
No, usually you don't, Karina, and apparently this is someone that you're married to, so husband, wife, the parole in place is obtained so that you can file an adjustment of status within the United States. So you've already filed it, it appears. Now, there are 2 forms. You mentioned parole in place, you mentioned an I-130. I didn't hear an I-485. So the I-485 application is the application that's used to file an adjustment of status. That means you get parole in place and you think of it as a bridge. You bridge from parole in place to permanent residency. So both usually are filed together, the I-130 with the I-485. If it hasn't been done, that's kind of negligent. They should have both been done at the same time. And now it's taking anywhere from 6 months to 9 months to get an I-130 approval. So you may have to do the parole in place again. I don't know the circumstances of the adjustment application. So again, make copies of everything, seek immigration counsel that is local to you and that you trust, Karina, before doing anything else on your application.
All right, the next question is from Rocio. My brother is a U.S. citizen and applied for my mother, but once in Juarez, she was denied until she provides a pardon from bringing in my 2 older brothers. What is the lead time, more or less, for a pardon?
Well, I'm not sure what the U.S. consul in Ciudad Juarez is asking a pardon for, but if your mother lived in the United States out of status and a child is petitioning for her, an adult child in this case, your brother, there is no waiver for living here illegally unless your mother has a spouse who's a resident or citizen or parents who are residents or citizens. So if it's a pardon for illegal presence and she has those qualifying relatives, it can take anywhere. The fastest I've seen an I-601 waiver approved is 3 to 4 months. The longest I've seen is a year. So again, this is why I so stress, and I love doing these live broadcasts, because hopefully I can stop someone from going to their final interview abroad if they live in the United States and seek competent counsel or get a second opinion before leaving the United States. She's already abroad, she's outside, so pardons usually last the months I've mentioned earlier, and now she has to wait outside. And hopefully she's eligible for a pardon, because the consul sometimes doesn't know all your situation. They say, oh, you need a pardon, and then later you look at it and you go, wait, you don't qualify for a pardon. So I'm hoping she's eligible.
Felipe, am I able to get political asylum after being here for 16 years? I entered with a passport from Spain, although I'm from Venezuela.
Good question, Felipe. The laws have changed in asylum. I call them, they morph. They change constantly. Immigration laws, period. But asylum laws have as well. Before, you could have entered 20 years ago and now decide, I want to file for asylum, and you could in the past. Now, they're going to ask you why you're filing 16 years later for political asylum, and I understand the situation in Venezuela. But basically now the law says that you have 1 year from the date you arrive in the United States to file for a political asylum. If you're going to file past that, in this case 15 years later, they're going to want exceptional circumstances. They're going to want to know why they should allow you to file an asylum application so late in the game. Now, asylum, I remind you, Felipe, from Spain, is not, the country is in a poor condition. There's strife, there's a war in my country. That's not the only requirement. They want to see that Felipe, if he goes back to Venezuela, he would be murdered, he would be disappeared, he'd be tortured, he'd be questioned, he'd be interrogated, he would be imprisoned. So that's a hard threshold to be able to prove to immigration. So again, not one, but 2 lawyers to see your case, because you want to make sure that if you're turning in an asylum application, you actually have a chance. If not, don't even apply, because asylums that are denied, guess what? They go to a deportation hearing. So asylum is a very tricky proposition. You file asylum and you either get granted or you get put under deportation proceedings and you go see an immigration judge. So be very cautious.
The next question is from Mario. Good afternoon, señora abogada. On an occasion, you mentioned that if someone reports human smuggling or illegal activity, one could receive some benefit from immigration. Where is this reported, and how safe is it to receive a benefit?
Well, the benefit is awesome, but I would get a lawyer to do that, because immigration is not likely to just say, Mario, you gave us some information, here's a visa. Usually has to be negotiated, and it has to be something ICE wants to know. So if you are privy, you have knowledge of something that immigration wants to know, you would get a lawyer to go with you and talk to them and say, I have information, but I also want to get a visa. And the visa that is usually given to people that give information to authorities is called an S visa. There's a small amount of them issued per year, but you want to make sure that the information you have is something that is worthy, because I don't know, if you're out of status and you're going to ICE to negotiate with them, you don't want to go alone. And if they say, well, this isn't information we really want, and thank you for coming, and they arrest you. So be very cautious. It's a very good visa. It is. I've seen them granted. There's T visas, there's S visas, there's U visas, but mostly the snitch visa is the S one when you have information that immigration wants. So again, I recommend that you not go alone to negotiate this, that a lawyer maybe even go before you go and talk to ICE and see if they're interested in the information, and then negotiate that they're going to give you an S visa in exchange.
And the next question is from Ana Luna. My father-in-law may potentially get deported in November because of 2 DUIs that happened about 6 years ago. He came illegally and has been here for about 27 years. He's married and has 3 U.S. children. His lawyer told him at his most recent hearing that the best thing he could do is a voluntary deportation and ask for a pardon, which holds a penalty of 10 years. Is that the best thing for him?
Well, Ana Luna, it's very hard for me to answer that so generally without talking to your relative and interviewing him at length. And I don't know what state you're in, but if you were in California, and there are many states in the United States that allow for a person to go back in court, criminal court, and modify a conviction, reduce it from a felony to a misdemeanor, modify it from something that makes you deportable to something less, even vacating. That means eliminating the crime altogether. There's so much injustice that occurs with immigrants because of the language barrier. They don't have money. They say, I'm guilty because it's cheaper, and they want the public defender to plead them out and get out of prison as soon as possible. So sometimes a good criminal lawyer can do what is called post-conviction relief in some states. So talk to a criminal lawyer and see if maybe those 2 DUIs or 1 can somehow be modified, eliminated, vacated. That means dismissed. That means he's not guilty. And hopefully they can do that quickly. And you can tell the judge, the immigration judge, that you're working on that parallel. And some judges will say, I'll wait. I will not let you sign voluntary departure or deport you until we see the outcome of that criminal matter. So it takes good lawyering of an immigration lawyer and a criminal lawyer at the same time. Very well. I want to give a shout out to someone that I spoke to recently. His name is Hector. He lives in Savannah, Georgia. Thank you, Hector. He is bilingual, of course. And he says, I saw you on Facebook Live, and I'm always curious, which one do you watch? The Tuesday English version, the Thursday Spanish version? He says, I watch them both, and I watch all of them. He said, and I've learned so much. And it turns out that he visited a lawyer in that state who told him to do his particular case in like 5 steps, very expensive, very long. And then we talked, and I said, wait a minute, you've got this thing going, and I won't mention any more particulars because it's confidential. But I found something, and I said, you don't have to go abroad to immigrate. You don't have to do this long waiver and process. You could do this other thing. And I said, did that lawyer tell you? And he says, no. And that's what I love about doing this, is that we are able to talk about so many topics. And sometimes they refer to you, the viewer, and sometimes they refer to someone you love, your spouse, your parent, your child, a best friend, or someone you work with and you like. So again, spread the word that we do this. Please share it, because we're just giving the information out so that hopefully people can benefit from it. So a big shout out to Hector in Georgia. Thank you for being a loyal viewer, excuse me, and as so many other people that I thank, but today I wanted to make a special mention to Hector in Georgia. Okay, the second topic, because I know some of you are waiting in the DACA, those that are dreamers. Okay, many people asked me last Tuesday, what's going to happen with DACA? What's going to happen with DACA? Are we going to get deported? Are they going to extend it? Are they going to, give us some new permits? What should I do? Should I renew my work permit? Well, just today, it leaked that the top advisors to the president are suggesting and sort of pressuring and saying, you should do something about the dreamers. You cannot deport them. So they came up with this plan and shared it with the president that, it sounds good, but it's also scary. And what they want to use is the dreamers, 800,000 of them that have DACA, as a bargaining tool, as a bargaining chip, you might say. Remember a teeter-totter when we were kids? Okay, we won't deport the dreamers. We'll continue to extend their work permits. We won't do anything to harm them. They're innocent. But in exchange, we want billions for the wall. We want tighter enforcement. We want to streamline and cut legal immigration. So the ways that exist now to immigrate, let's cut them in half or maybe more, who knows, but they want to cut that. So they also want to institute E-Verify, and they want to have a special line for employers, so that a boss can call a special line and say, XYZ is asking for a job. Is he or she legal? So all of this in exchange for allowing the dreamers to continue with DACA. So that's the latest from Washington, D.C. At least we know that they're whispering in his ear that it's not a good idea to deport dreamers. I don't like the way they're doing it and the balance, and saying, but we want all of this. So that happened just today, so you're hearing it now here. We don't know if they're going to use it as a bargaining chip or not, or if they're going to extend DACA. But that's the latest. Every show we have live here, I'm asked what's going to happen with DACA. And I promise you that I tell you every time, as soon as I hear something, I'm going to share it with you. I'm doing this now. So it's good news for dreamers, but bad news for everybody else if they do decide to extend it, but put pressure on so many other areas and make enforcement tighter and build that wall. So it's a positive and a negative, unfortunately. So that's my second topic, and now we will go with more questions. It hurts me to hear how they're playing ping pong with the dreamers. Let's go on to more Q&A.
Juan, my petition I-130 was filed in December of 2016, but by my wife, who is a legal permanent resident. How long is it going to take to start receiving some kind of mail or information?
Okay, Juan, you don't tell me what country you're from, or I did hear it. I don't know if you did, Fernie. And a big shout out to Fernie. Fernie is in Miami. We're here in Los Angeles. And she's the voice you hear, the sweet voice in the back. And Yvonne as well. They do such an amazing job to get this information out to you. It's not just me. There's a team here. And so I want to say thank you, Fernie. So you don't tell me what country you're from, Juan, but let me just give you both. There are two categories. If your wife is a resident and you are from Mexico, they're in 2015, so approximately 2 years to get your green card. You should get a receipt from immigration on the I-130 and the fee you paid within like 90 days. You should get an approval within about 6 months, and then the rest of the process takes about 2 years, plus you may need a waiver. I don't know about that. Now, if you're from Central America, Europe, the rest of America, South America, the wait right now for 2A is 2015 as well. They're a month apart for residents. So that's how long it's taking, approximately 2 years. If you want to expedite it and make it faster, I always recommend that the spouse that's a resident become a United States citizen. If she's eligible, then it would make it a little bit faster.
All right, and this question is, it has a lot of numbers, so bear with me. It's from Morquecho. My girlfriend was detained last week and they revoked her tourist visa. She signed a withdrawal application for admission, section 212A, 7B, 1 and 2. My question is, we have plans to get married. Did she or will she have trouble to re-enter the U.S. or did she need to take any action? Okay, so
Morquecho, I assume she's left. So she was attempting entry, had a B2 at the airport or at the land port. I always talk figuratively, excuse me, but it's so much easier to understand these legal concepts. It sometimes can be complex. It's like you're knocking at the door saying, can I come in? And then the person comes out the door and say, never mind, I don't want to come in, and they leave. That's what your girlfriend did. She signed a withdrawal of admission. And a withdrawal of admission says, I'm turning in a visa, but I decided I want to go back home. I don't want to come into the United States. Now, I don't have my code book to tell you in this particular one that she signed if there's withdrawal without prejudice and there's withdrawal with prejudice. And sometimes they write it on the visa. You know, if they put a cross against it or a stamp that says canceled, and then the numbers and the code, and it also will say with prejudice or without prejudice. And she also got a sheet that she signed, and she gets a copy, I hope, at the airport that says that she withdrew her admission, the code number, and if it's with prejudice or without. If it's without prejudice, means it won't affect her in the future to request a new visa. I guess they figured, I don't know what she said, and this is why it's so important to seek immigration counsel. I know you're a citizen probably and your girlfriend's abroad. This should have been discussed before she even attempted to come here. If she mentioned, oh, I have a boyfriend and we're going to get married and he's going to get a green card, denied entry, you know, admission denied, or maybe she's from one of the 7 travel ban countries, or maybe she's been here before and she's overstayed her visa, or she stayed a long time and she just left and now she's coming back again. So who knows what the immigration officer at the airport or border saw, but he or she said, I don't think this person is coming as a tourist, and denied her entry. So if it was without prejudice, it won't affect you once you marry for you to apply for her again. So I hope that is what she signed.
Hello, my name is Denise, and my question is, what would happen if the police, ICE, stops me and I'm in the middle of the process of obtaining a visa U?
Well, I would, Denise, carry, and this goes for everybody, if you're in the process of getting a green card through whatever means, please carry copies of that application, of the receipt from immigration, of an approval form. Carry it in your glove compartment or in your wallet or in your purse, but have it somewhere handy. Because although it's not a visa, it's not a permit. However, I've seen officers that say, well, wait a minute, you're already advanced. I see, they check on the computer, they check the numbers. Yep, this application's been filed and we're planning on approving it. And sometimes people are not arrested, they're not detained. They're stopped, but they're not detained or arrested. And you can go on your merry way and continue. And sometimes you may think that the application is not completed, but you already have a permit to be in this country. So read your documents. If you don't understand them, seek an immigration attorney so that they could interpret it and tell you if it's actually some U visas are approved, and that's enough. If you're stopped, they can't touch you. But some U visas are only a receipt that tells you that it's been feed in, and some are, they look the same, but there is an approval which allows you to be living here in the United States.
Carmen, what's the processing date today for an F2 visa? It's an American father requesting a 22-year-old son from Dominican Republic. How long is the wait?
Okay, so American father, I assume that means he's a U.S. citizen and an adult child. Now, you didn't tell me, I know this is complicated, the visa bulletin, but you didn't tell me if the child is a married person or single person, but I'll give you both, and hopefully this helps you. So Dominican Republic, first preference is for parents, U.S. citizen parents immigrating children that are adults, 21 and over, and they're single. For Dominican Republic, May 2010. Now, if that same person is married, the wait is longer. It's July of 2005. So the wait is 5 more years if the person is married. Now, if that person is single, please tell them not to get married, because even though they filed an application as a single person, if you get married while you're waiting, guess what? You go in another line and it's 5 more years of a wait. Speaking of that, on my website, you can see the visa bulletins, and the website's listed somewhere down here, almarosanieto.com, and I have an icon at the top that says Visa Bulletin. You don't have to do anything else on that site. Press Visa Bulletin, and you'll see the categories, and you'll see when it's for single, for married, for different countries, for different categories, for residents petition for family, for U.S. citizens petitioning for family. You'll see that bulletin every month. So feel free to go there, and you can track your application and say, oh, well, it just moved. Now, don't get disheartened if you see the September bulletin in a few days and it stays the same or it went back. I remind you that visas are issued in a fiscal calendar, and the calendar is not January to December like ours. It's October 1st to September. So September, you're going to see a backlog. You're going to look at it and go, oh my God, they went back. It's normal in September. But in October, you're going to see it jump forward.
All right, and this is the last question from Fidel. Dear attorney, I've been deported 3 times trying to enter illegally. My question is, how long must I wait to apply for a tourist visa? At the moment, I'm living legally in Italy.
Okay. Well, Fidel, I don't know why you were deported 3 times. I assume it could have been for illegal entry. It could have been for use of documents that weren't your own, or fake documents that were issued in your name. Could be because you said you were a U.S. citizen. You think it's easy, and you walk up to the booth in a land port, say U.S. citizen, and then they find out you're not. So I don't know why you were deported 3 times, or if it was you were just trying to come in through, as we say in Spanish, we say through the desert or through the hills. If that's the case, most likely it was voluntary departure. But you're telling me you're from a country that is not a border, Canada or Mexico. You're from Italy. So if they found out you were Italian and they sent you back and you were coming through a land port, you were coming through Canada and they sent you back to Canada, or they sent you back to Mexico, most likely they're voluntary departures and they wouldn't be so bad. But if they found out you were from Italy and they actually sent you back to Italy one of the 3 times or all 3, that's a deportation. Very unlikely that you'll be able to get a tourist visa. And another thing, regardless of your history, anybody asking for a tourist visa must show with really strong evidence at the embassy when you go for your interview for a tourist visa that you have, imagine a ship. What size anchor does that ship need? Really huge to hold that ship in place, right, when it's docked. That's what the consul wants to see. They want to see strong evidence in Italy or from wherever you are, what country your origin you are. They want to see strong proof that you live there, that you work there, that you have a home, or that you have property, or that you're in school, that you're a professional, that you have a job, that you have a bank account, that you have family there. They're saying, okay, this Italian is not staying in the U.S. But if they see that you've been detained several times trying to come in, and you have nothing in Italy, they're going to deny the visa. That goes for anybody, because they're going to say, you are a risk, you're coming in, you're going to stay, and then you're just going to disappear and stay in the United States. So be very mindful. That's another thing I recommend people from outside of the United States, consult with an immigration in the U.S. and say, I want to apply for a tourist visa, and these are the documents I have. What do you think, lawyer? Do I have enough? Should I add more? I have these letters of recommendation. Does this help me? No. I have these bank letters. I have these deeds of property. Does that help you? Yes. I have my itinerary. I'm going to New York. I'm going to Miami, and I'm going to LA. Does that help? Yes. So a lawyer will tell you what the immigration officer likes to see when you come in, and the consul likes to see when they issue the visa. So it's been really fun talking to you today. I really enjoyed it. Sorry we are a few minutes late. Please, please, please share that we do this every Tuesday in English, and please, please share that we do this every Thursday in Spanish. Todos los jueves en español a las 7 de la noche y 10 de la noche, hora del este. So it's in both languages to serve everybody that has immigration questions. It's been a pleasure and an honor to be with you and answer some of your questions partially. And remember, seek immigration advice for specific questions to the fact pattern of your particular case. We'll see you next week. One second. We may have lost people because we were so late. Did we put a note or something saying, hold on, or we're going to be on shortly? No, we didn't. Yeah, so maybe next time we already have those things and we can just post them right away so that people will stand by. But I don't think that was it because I announced it today. Right, yeah, you're right, you're right. That's weird. Todo está abajo, todo lo que han hecho hoy. 36 views? Ah. Están viendo otra cosa en vivo y tiene 36 vistas de otra cosa. That's on Telemundo? Well, I hope we're not losing audience in English. Now you're gonna post this, Fernie, so people can watch it later. Okay. Oh, perfect. Okay, because we're doing the same thing tomorrow. I'm ready whenever you are. Permítame, ¿me dan 2 minutos, Iván? ¿Me dice al minuto y medio? Iván, digo, perdón, Yudiel. Sí. ¿Me dice el minuto y medio? Sí. Gracias. Quieren 2 minutos. Okay. Okay. Yo le hago así cuando sea minuto. Gracias. Okay, ready to rock and roll. 5, 4, 3. Con tanto temor que hay ahora con inmigración y búsquedas de ICE en casa, trabajo, en la calle, me gustaría dar unas recomendaciones generales de qué pueden hacer y qué derechos tiene toda persona dentro de Estados Unidos si es parada o cuestionada por ICE en la calle, en el trabajo o en su casa. Primero, en casa tienen que tener una orden de cateo y esa orden tiene que tener especificidad. Quiere decir que tiene que tener su nombre, tiene que tener su dirección y también tiene que ser firmada por un juez. Si usted ve una orden con el nombre de otra persona, otra dirección, está firmada por inmigración, no tienen que abrir la puerta y ese documento deben pedir verlo debajo de la puerta o en una ventana donde lo puedan ver. También tienen derecho a no decir nada. Tienen derecho, si es en la calle, a no ser, se me olvidó la palabra search. I gotta start all over again. Busque. No, it's not busque. You have a, it's, the word is, you may refuse a search. Eso es tu persona. Inspección física. Got it. Okay. Start again. Sorry. 3, 2. ¿Qué derechos tiene una persona que vive en Estados Unidos y está indocumentada? Muchos. Si usted es parado por inmigración o cuestionado por ICE en el trabajo, en su hogar o en la calle, tiene derechos. Y el más importante que la mayoría de las personas ceden es hablar. Tienen el derecho de guardar silencio, no tienen que hablar. No cooperen con ICE. El hablar no los va a llevar a ningún lugar positivo, sino al contrario, le está dando armas a ICE en contra suyo. Si está en su trabajo y llega ICE, usted puede salir caminando, no corriendo del lugar de trabajo. Si corre, van a asumir que usted es una persona indocumentada. Caminando hacia la salida, si lo paran, usted puede voltear y decir, estoy libre de caminar y de seguir y salir del lugar donde me están investigando o cuestionando. Si le dicen sí, siga adelante caminando. Si le dicen no, pues obviamente pueden cuestionarlo y ahí es donde usted debe ejercer su derecho a guardar silencio. Si es en su casa, tienen que tener una orden de cateo, tiene que tener su nombre, su dirección y también tiene que ser firmado por un juez. ¿Dónde deben ver esa orden? No abran la puerta. Debe ser debajo de la puerta que se lo entreguen y usted lo ve. Si tiene el nombre de alguien más, otra dirección o no está firmada por un juez, no abran. No tienen que abrir la puerta. También tienen derecho de llamar a abogado, tienen derecho de llamar al consulado de su país de origen y de esa manera poder recibir asesoramiento y que le den una lista de abogados gratuitos para que le asesoren y lo defienden. Recuerde, sé que los tiempos están muy difíciles, sin embargo, tenemos un derecho fundamental que la Constitución de Estados Unidos nos da y es el guardar silencio. Asesórense antes de tener este percance si tienen ustedes algún temor en su caso particular, porque ¿qué creen? Hay personas que se asesoran y el abogado al interrogarlo se da cuenta de que tiene alguna defensa a favor de esa persona y han estado indocumentados en el país. Por favor, compartan este video. Hello. ¿Sí? ¿Me faltó algo? ¡Yay! Al contrario, un abrazo a los dos. Bye. Igualmente, hasta el jueves. Chao.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Amazing. Everybody, we want to welcome you to what looks like one of the biggest rallies Phoenix has ever seen, and we thank you for coming out here to show your support for our president, Donald J. Trump. We elected our president to go and drain the swamp, and drain the swamp he's been doing. We've seen the stock market hit all-time highs. We've seen over 1 million new jobs come back to this country. We've seen 16 regulations disappear for every new one that Washington sends through. Business strangling regulations, and hopefully, if Congress and the Senate gets their act together, we will have no more Obamacare. The president went down to Yuma today to see what we can do about building that wall. Now, I do have a quick announcement to make. There are people out there that are trying to destroy some of the heroes from the past, like George Washington. They've talked about George Washington, and some people have said, you know, some people have said they don't want George Washington on the dollar bill. Have you heard this? So I have a message to say for anyone that doesn't want George Washington on your dollar bill to please collect up all those offensive bills to you, put them in an envelope, and mail them to Jeff DeWitt, care of the Treasurer's Office, State Capitol of Arizona, Phoenix 85007. I will happily make sure that you never deal with him again. Again, I want to thank everyone who is here today, the loyal, patriotic Americans who are here to see their president. We're going to take a brief break, And we have some very special guests. They're going to join you soon. We'll be back. Thank you, everybody.
seamstress for the band, pretty eye, pirate smile, you marry a music man, ballerina, you must have seen her dancing in the sand. Now she's in me, always with me, tiny dancer in my hand. Jesus freaks out in the street, handing tickets out for gone. Turning back, she just laughs. The boulevard is not that bad. Piano man, he makes a stand in their auditorium, looking on. She sings the songs, the words she knows, June she hums. of landing. You had a busy day today. All because of tiny dancers. Count the headlights on the highway. Lay me down in sheets of linen. You had a busy day today. Don't you worry about what's on your mind, oh man. I'm in no hurry, I can take my time, oh man. I'm going red, and my tongue's getting tired. Tongue's getting tired. I'm up my head, my mouth getting dry. Better cha-cha-cha, oh man. Let's spend the night together. Now I need you more than ever. Let's spend the night together now. I feel so strong that I can't disguise, oh man. Let's spend the night together, but I just can't apologize, oh no. Let's spend the night together. Don't hang me up and let me down. Don't let me down. We could have fun just going around, round and round, and oh my, my. Let's spend the night together. Now I need you more than ever. Let's spend the night together. Let's spend the night together. Now I need you more than ever. You know I'm smiling, baby. You need some guidance, baby. I've just decided, baby, now I need you more than ever. Let's spend the night together. Let's spend the night together now. Oh, my, This doesn't happen to me every day, oh man. Let's spend the night together. No excuses of it anyway, oh man. Let's spend the night together. I'll satisfy your every need, your every need. And now I know you will satisfy me. Oh my. Let's spend the night together. Now I need you more than ever. Let's spend the night together now. Oh my. Let's spend the night together. Now I need you more than ever, woman. Let's spend the night together. I'm satisfied your every need, woman. Let's spend the night together. Now I know you satisfy me, woman. Let's spend the night together. I beg you, baby. Oh, let's spend the night together. Come on now. There have been so many girls that I've known. I've made so many cry. still I wonder why. Here comes a little girl, I see her walking down the street. She's all by herself, I try and knock off her feet, but she'll never break, never break, never break, never break this heart of stone. Oh no, no, this heart of stone. What's different about her? I don't really know. No matter how I try, I just can't make her cry. This heart of stone. Oh no, 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 this heart of stone. Don't keep on looking that same old way. If you try acting sad, you'll only make me glad. Better listen, little girl, you're going walking down the street. I ain't got no love, I ain't the kind of me. 'Cause she'll never break, never break, never break, never break this heart of stone. Oh no, no, you'll never break this heart of stone, darling. No, no, this heart of stone. You'll never break it, darling.